Hi, I am Jennifer Hobbs. I teach 10th grade English, which is world literature, and I also teach journalism, so I get all grades for the journalism class. I'm here to talk to a little bit about differentiation. And so what I have found works the best with my students and what creates the best environment for me is to have my desks always change, have my classroom change. What I try to do is move the desks around, and sometimes I base it on the activity that we're going to do that day. It might be group work, it might be groups of two, maybe I'm going to have peer review something, or if it's a test or they're going to work individually, I'll move the desks apart. And what I've found is at first they are shocked that it's not always the same. They're creatures of habit and they like it that way. But I find what it does is it has them work with different kids they might not have worked with before, and then they become more prepared for what is going to come that day. They decide that this is something serious, this is something formal that we're going to do, or maybe the way the desks are arranged, they know it's a little bit more informal, they can be more casual. So I find that helps the most with me. It breaks it up a little bit. Probably another thing that I do is with assessment. I find that knowing what I'm going to teach, knowing what concepts are important for the end project, be it a paper or a test or maybe just a project that we're working on, I know what concepts are important. So as we're reading or as we're looking for a different material, I'll stop and see if they got it. So I'll do different tricks with that, like maybe I'll pass out some index cards and have them write a response to a quick question that I made up, or rephrase something that we read or said in class or brought up in class. Then I'll read those overnight and the next day hand them out, and according to who got the concept and who did not get the concept. So by pairing them up the next day, they can teach each other a skill, the one who they can rephrase it in different ways. And so not only do they learn to express themselves and to teach, but then they get a different opinion. So that always helps. And what I find sometimes is that it's spontaneous because it's based on what happens that day. And I know just by looking at myself and what kind of a learner I am and how easy it is for me to tune out what a teacher says or what someone says, that just because I said it doesn't mean they got it. So I try to take that into consideration. I try to, myself, move around the room. I try to use different places in my classroom for attention. I might use the Promethean board one day or write on the board the other day. So I find that just by mixing it up, that helps them the most. I think one of the pitfalls that we fall into with differentiation is that we only associate it with team teaching or maybe SPED students. And I think what's essential is to understand how different all learners are and to try to work towards that, to try and get the kinesthetic learners, to get the auditory learners, to get the other learners that just want everything exactly the same. And even though I change it a lot and there's flux, it's not chaos. They can still have some sense of order and sense of reason in the midst of all this change.